Ooh, what's up you guys? I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre. Welcome back to the channel and this Apex Legends video. Today, we have an extra special, massive piece of content for you guys. Over 100 tips, tricks, and bits of information on Apex Legends that will help you secure kills and victories. This video is designed specifically for my friends who are either brand new to the game or haven't been to the game in a long time, because many things have changed on Apex Legends and the state of the game is very different from what it was 1 year ago. I have this broken down into different sections that if you want to go to a specific place, you can check down timestamps in the link below. We're going to start with weapons, go through equipment, talk about general gameplay, go into combat, and also talk about how to fight every legend in the game. So let's get started with our basic weapons and equipment information. We're going to begin our journey inside the firing range, a new addition from Season 3 of Apex Legends. The firing range is a stress-free environment where you can go to train with every legend, every weapon, and every piece of equipment that currently exists inside the game. It's a great place to practice and warm up before you get started into a regular round of Apex Legends. Here we have the light guns, the 45, the P2020, 301 carbine, 99, alternator, and G7 Scout, which is now considered an assault rifle, no longer a sniper. All of the light weapons don't do much damage per bullet, but make up for that with very fast rates of fire compared to any other weapon class in the game. You have the heavy weapons, the Wingman, the Spitfire, the Prowler, the Hemlock, and the Flatline. The heavy weapons tend to shoot slower, but deal very high damage, and this is the only category where you will find any burst weapons. The Prowler and the Hemlock, both burst weapons. In the energy category, we have the Havoc Rifle and the L-Star EMG, which is no longer a care package weapon, but it's a ground loot weapon. The energy guns feature little to no bullet drop, but are hampered by wild recoil and charge up times that hold back their rates of fire. All the sniper rifles are now in one category. We have the new Sentinel, the Charge Rifle, the Longbow, and the Triple Take are now in one category, and all feature a shared ammo type sniper rounds. These all do massive damage to the head and can inflict serious damage at long range. We also have the shotguns, the Mozambique, the Peacekeeper, and the EVA 8 Auto, and these guns do massive damage in close range quarters. Speaking of shotguns, the Peacekeeper and the EVA 8 receive no benefits from aiming down sights, but the Mozambique and the Mastiff do. So make sure you aim down sights when you're using a Mozambique or a Mastiff shotgun. One quick note on the Mastiff shotgun is the sights that you see completely lie to you. As you can tell, the two bars on the outside of those sights actually hit nothing. So make sure your sights are centered on target if you want to inflict massive damage with the Mastiff, which is a care package weapon alongside the Kraber sniper rifle and the Devotion energy machine gun, which is now a golden care package weapon. These guns can only be found inside care packages that drop during the game, and they all do massive damage, but made up for it by carrying a limited amount of ammo. Each gold gun has 3 magazines, so make sure you use the ammo included wisely. Each and every single gun does have predictive recoil. What that means is if you want to turn your gun into a laser beam, you can learn the specific patterns of every gun and pull your stick in the opposite direction to get good, nice lasered shots. Hipfire is also extremely powerful in this game and helps you maintain mobility inside close combat situations, so don't underestimate the hip fire of your weapons. Moving into the equipment category, we have your throwables. The grenades can be bounced around corners, do 100 damage, and can send targets flying. The arc stars can be thrown the farthest, can stick to targets, do massive damage to shields, and also stun and slow people hit by it. The thermites do damage over time, and every second you stand inside the fire will add another layer of damage over time, which can really add up fast. Your extended magazines increase ammo capacity, but the blue and purple extended magazines actually increase your reload speed as well, so make sure you prioritize grabbing those. These shotgun bolts don't actually increase your ammo capacity, but will increase the rate of fire of the shotgun, which can be really, really effective on the EVA 8 Auto. Just hold down the trigger and let it fly. The barrel stabilizers decrease the recoil and should be prioritized on the wilder firing gun, while the standard stocks and sniper stocks will improve your handling speed while also reducing the aim drift that happens while you aim down sights, and should be prioritized on the bigger, heavier weapons. All sniper scopes have range finders attached to them so you can tell exactly how far a target is away, and the numbered hashes on that will tell you exactly where your bullet is going to go. For example, these targets in front of me are 377 meters away, so I put it just above the 4 and pow, nailing that target. These sniper scopes also adjust those numbered hashes depending on which weapon you actually have it equipped to. You see me switching between a longbow, which has a slower bullet, to the sentinel, which has a faster bullet, and therefore the hashes are a lot closer together. Now, headshots hurt in Apex Legends, but can be mitigated by helmets. The white helmet reduces damage of headshots by 10%, the blue by 20%, and the purple by 25%. Hop-ups in this game are attachments that can completely change the effects of a weapon. And these also change from season to season, so make sure you stay up to date by subscribing to the channel and finding out which hop-ups change. Currently, we have the hammer points, which equip to the Mozambique and the P2020, and increase body damage by 2 1/4. Making the P2020 and the Mozambique absolutely incredible destructive weapons with these attached. The double tap trigger goes on the EVA 8 and the G7 Scout and adds a 2-tap burst feature to these guns. Very powerful. The select fire attaches to the Havoc and the Prowler. On the Prowler, you can change it to full auto, while on the Havoc, it gives you a powerful single fire beam. We have the Anvil receiver attaches to the Flatline and the 301, and this changes your single fire into a 2.5 times damage round that takes 2 bullets to fire. The last hop-up we'll talk about is the Precision Choke, which attaches to the Triple Take and the Peacekeeper. When aiming down sights with a choke, this greatly decreases the spread of your rounds and is super effective for hitting targets at long range. The last piece of equipment we'll talk about are all the gold pieces, which have special perks attached. The gold knockdown shield gives you self-resurrection capacity. The gold backpack gives you enhanced revives, bringing back teammates with 50 shields and 70 health. The helmet decreases your tactical and ultimate charge times by 50%, and the gold shield allows you to use health items at a rate of 50% faster as well. So prioritize grabbing any and all of these gold items if you happen to find them during a game. There's also been a new piece of loot added to the pool in the form of the Evo Shield. This item came in the System Override event and is now a permanent part of Apex Legends. It starts with 25 health, just 1 bar, but can be upgraded to 5. That's 125 extra health by dealing damage to other players. The first evolution costs 100 damage, the second evolution 300 damage, and the third and final evolution costs 500 damage, with each evolution granting you more health bars. The first evolution takes you from 1 to 2 bars, the second evolution takes you from 2 to 4 bars, and the final evolution gets you that 5th bar. Note that when you upgrade Evolve the Shield, it does not actually heal the shield. You will have to use your own shield heals to put the cells back to use. Now, the last thing we'll talk about while we're inside the firing range is the ability to turn on the bots that you can scrim against. You want to make sure you pick up all the equipment to put in your backpack first, and then head to this specific area, which is up to the far side of the arena. You want to drop any weapons you have carrying, but keep anything in your backpack. You can crouch, look straight down, and switch to any legend, and you will hear this tone. What the rocks? That specific little clack noise has let you know that the bots have turned on, and this is a great way to warm up and even practice using guns you're not used to using against real human-sized targets that will shoot back at you. The white dummies have white shields and 301s, the blue dummies have blue shields and peacekeepers, and the purple dummies have purple shields and L-stars. Don't underestimate these guys, and it's a great way to practice fighting before you get into a game, or once again, to get used to using weapons that you haven't used a whole lot yet. And you can always go turning these off by going to the exact same spot you did before and doing the exact same motion, dropping guns, crouching, looking straight down, and changing legends, and they will turn back to regular dummies. Now we're going to move outside of the firing range and get into the real game. Now, if you've never played Apex Legends before, I highly recommend you pick one spot and learn it inside out first before trying to land at different locations. Having intimate knowledge of the loot spawns can get you off to a great start, and many of the buildings repeat several times across the map. At the start of every game, you will see potentially a blue light shining in the sky. This is a hot drop where you will find guaranteed at least one gold item. And there is also a loot train where purple and gold items are also likely to spawn. That spawns in a different place every time. Now when you're dropping, if you want to get maximum distance, you want to learn how to do the wave. Straighten out until you get to about 130 meters per second, and then drop down to increase your speed back to about 140, 145. And then once you're close enough to your target, you can dip straight down and get maximum speed into your dive. As a general rule of thumb, if you want to get better at fighting, you should land somewhere hot, but if you want to have a better chance of winning, try to land somewhere cold and get looted before you get into a fight. Speaking of loot, you want to make sure you loot fast. Only worry about the things you need. Be aware of how much ammo you have, how much health you have, what kind of equipment you're looking for, so you can move very quickly across this map. Speed is key. Make sure you're also pinging things. The smart ping system exists for a reason. So if you notice your friends are missing something, potentially a helmet, potentially a body shield, or different weapons, you can ping those things for your friends, and that can lead to developing a nice set of camaraderie, even among random teammates. You can also get more advanced ping options by holding the button down. You can say, if you've seen it looks like somebody's been through here, if you're going to go loot an area, attacking, defending, watching, you guys should follow me. So if you don't have a microphone, you can say exactly what you want to do and tell your teammates important information. You can also ping for health or shields from your health and shield item bar. And if you go into your inventory, you can also ping for attachments or ammo as well. If you have an attachment and want a better one, you can even drop that item and ping for it so you can at least let your friends know if you don't have a microphone that you're looking for that attachment. In general, you should also listen out for the Legends Battle Chatter. They tell you a lot of information. Just listen to these guys talk.
I'm back. Logged off my drone.
They say all kinds of stuff, so if your team is split really far apart, to how much time is left in the circle, to even if you're being third party, so make sure you listen up. The user interface also tells you about your teammates. If they're firing, you'll see a muzzle flash right next to their name, and if you look inside your inventory, you can see exactly what they're equipped with. Helmets, shields, knock shields, backpack, and ammo types, so you know what to ping for them. Now, a World's Edge exclusive change in terms of loot comes in the form of loot drones and the loot vaults. The loot drones you'll see flying around the exact same path every time, and if you shoot the drone when the ball is a specific color, you'll get the loot. If you shoot the ball, the drone will just fly away from you, but if you shoot the drone itself, you will get the loot ball and whatever color of loot was inside, so rare, epic, or legendary. And if you find one that has red lights on it, that's how you access the vault keys, and the vault keys are the only way to get inside the loot vaults that you'll find on World's Edge. There's 3 of them, one next to Geyser, one next to Lava City, and one next to Train Yard. And you take this key to one of those 3 locations and hold it down, and you will get a variety of epic and legendary loot. Now, you're not guaranteed to get like purple shields or epic shields, but you're definitely guaranteed to get a variety of purple and gold items of some kind. So you might be lucky and get a gold shield, but you might be unlucky and just get a giant handful of attachments. So either way, if you're not looted up, not a bad idea to try. It's also a good idea to
to head for any and all of the game care packages that come down. They can also have some really nice gold items on them, and they're also the only way to access those gold care package weapons we talked about earlier in the video. And these are extremely powerful, as we spoke about before, and in the right hands, used wisely, can definitely lead to getting that champion screen at the end of the game. You might be fooled by the running animations, but every legend actually moves the exact same speed without their extra abilities activated. Like Bangalore and Octane can get some movement speed boosts, but aside from that, your WATTSON, WRAITH, and LIFELINE will move the same speed as your Gibraltar and CAUSTIC. And that means they can also climb the same things. You want to keep your eyes peeled for sneaky ways to maneuver around cliff sides. This can help you to get into some really difficult to reach positions. Maybe say move around the circle and rotate to a better spot, or also assault enemy teams. Not only is this useful up on cliff sides, many buildings are accessible via little ledges that are on the side that you might not think of as easy ways to access the top. It's a great way to push enemies from positions they might not normally expect, like that little 2-ledge climb right there. You do not have to be Revenant to perform that climb. Last general tip before moving on to raw combat is that you want to pay attention to that circle. Don't sleep on it. As a general rule, you can revive your friends in Circle 1. They will be able to pull off any healing idol in Circle 1. But Circle 2 and onwards, if you try to revive your friends, they will not have time to get any kind of heal off, even a syringe. So don't even bother. They're better off dying and you picking up their banner so you can move on after that. And just definitely keep in mind that positioning in relation to the circle, it is key. And if you don't pay attention to it, you can end up losing yourself the game. This was a game that I played live on stream with one of my regular stream viewers. It's Summer56, and she managed to clutch up a victory in this ranked game by hanging out, making sure she was in good position, and the other teams got themselves killed in the outside of the circle. Clutch moment right there. Moving on to combat tips, before you even engage, you want to try to get information. Know who you're going to fight. Look out for open doors or bins. That means people have been there and they might still be around. Pay attention to the sound of gunfire. Even if you don't push a fight, you want to know where the people are fighting at. You can also try to tell who a legend is from a distance by the shape of their hitbox and their movement patterns. Also, don't feel like you have to push every fight. If it puts you in a worse game position, you shouldn't do it. If you have the high ground, keep the high ground. There's no reason for you to give that up just to go push a fight. It might put you at a disadvantage. Stay back, try to keep track of where that team is, where the other teams are, and when you feel you have the advantage, then maybe you can push into the fight after that. You also want to keep an eye out on the squad count and the player count up in the top right corner. That can give you extra information on when squads are down, when fights are over, and when you can actually be able to push. Now, of course, Apex Legends is easier if you have a meta weapon like an R99 with the purple magazine, but RNGesus does not always shine upon you, and so make sure you are practiced with every weapon, because sometimes you might be going up against someone who has the R99 when all you have is a P2020. And so listen to these combat tips, which apply in every situation, but especially in these kind of situations when you're outgunned. Try to get the drop on the enemy, get the first shots off, but then make sure you stay moving. Do not stay in one place, and make sure you try to keep yourself hidden. Using things like crouch walk, you actually make no foot sounds when you crouch walk, and so it's a lot harder to track you as a legend. And then keep moving from cover to cover. If even all you have is one piece of cover, make sure you utilize it. Make sure you're popping off heals as often as you can. If you have a moment, pop off the heals. If you have that piece of cover, make sure you're not just going around it, but up and over it. This is a 3-dimensional game, not a 2-dimensional platformer, so make sure you use all 3 dimensions that are available to you. And you can even wipe whole squads by rotating around the exact same piece of cover, popping off your heals on a consistent basis, and making sure you're getting the drop on your enemy, putting shots on them when they're not putting in shots on you. Even if you don't have any cover, there's still something you can do. Make sure you don't go full potato, as they say. Jump, crouch, strafe, move around. Make yourself a hard target to hit so that the enemies cannot lay that damage upon you that you're trying to put in on them. Keep your ears peeled as well. Make sure you're listening out for those enemy footsteps. I was able to tell this Pathfinder was coming around the side by listening out for his steps, and I got the drop on him. Also, pay attention to people's moods. I can tell this guy is panicking. He does not seem confident at all, so I'm going to try to chase him down and get him knocked. This also gives me the opportunity to flank. If you know that your friends are creating a distraction and that the other people aren't looking at you, trying to push up and around and behind enemies is going to get you some easy squad wipes. High ground is also king in this game. You want to have it, you want to keep people off of it. So if you have the high ground and you don't need to push it off of it or give it up, don't do so. It makes it really easy to lay damage on enemies. Headshots are way easier from above, and it makes it really easy to stay covered and hidden. All you have to do is pull back behind the edge of the cliff. And you can also use this to bait your enemies. If you are up high, they're going to need to get up to you somehow, and you can catch them in a climbing animation where they are totally helpless, don't have a gun out at all. Also, in the middle of combat, you want to make sure you're monitoring your ammo. If you're low with ammo on one weapon, switch to the other weapon, but make sure you go back to the first weapon to switch from, put ammo back in that one in between fights so you don't miss, out on that chance in the next fight and pull an empty weapon out. You also want to make sure you bring throwables with you, especially into the final battle. This is going to be harder to do now that they just made the big sweeping inventory change with the system override event, so now you can only carry one grenade per slot as opposed to 2 grenades per slot. So you can't carry as many into the final battle, but they're still exceptionally useful. Like if your enemies are caught in a confined space like the fight you just saw, or if they're up against the edge of the circle. Not only are these grenades going to do high amounts of damage, but because that circle is coming in, they're basically going to have to run into your grenades, and they can totally win the entire battle just by themselves. Now remember, in Apex, squads are made up of 3 players, so don't get zeroed in on just one person. If you knock one person and they don't go down right away, you are guaranteed to have other enemies close by, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for their friends to come in and either attack you or try to get their banners, and just be ready for whatever is coming. If that person doesn't go down right away, they definitely have teammates. Now, when you're dropping in, one of the things you really want to remember is you have fists, and it's totally okay to use them. And in fact, I love throwing fists at the very beginning of a game because it often puts people into a panic. It goes from 0 to 90 really fast. In just 3 punches, you can give somebody a fraction of health and make them a one-shot. And speaking of one-shot, you guys should make sure to practice iron sights with your sniper rifles. These are exceptionally high damage weapons, and at the beginning of a game, even if you have no scope, you can wipe an entire squad with these sniper rifles. It is amazing. Watch my brother right here wipe a whole squad with his longbow. Yes! Yes! Fucking headshot, bro! Yes. Push him, push him. Yes, bro. I don't even care that you didn't get my respawn. I don't even care. Now, if you ever find yourself in a 1v2 or 1v3, the best thing you can do is try to take it one legend at a time. Try to make it, instead of a 1 versus 3 fight, make it 3 different 1v1 fights. So I've got one knocked. I'm gonna get this other knocked back up and get some heals on. Now, in these situations, you also want to keep a close ear out for the revivals. If you hear somebody reviving, make sure you go push that revive. Even if they get the person up, you know that person is going to be super low health. So make sure, if you know a target is low, prioritize the low health target, get that gun out of the fight, and then go back to finishing whatever you were doing. And don't forget, in the middle of the fight, if you run out of ammo, switch guns to finish off your targets, because that's going to be way faster than reloading. Now, sometimes in these situations like this, you might want to try to go for the revive, but it might not be possible. Sometimes reviving your teammate is not the best thing you can do. Don't forget, you can actually cancel reviving. You can also cancel finishers as well. So if you have an enemy running up on you either during a revive or a finish, it's okay to back off. Get yourself a little more situation, put some heals on, try to get behind cover, and see if you can finish that fight. As long as your friends are alive, pinging and communicating, and not boxes, they can help you find the enemy teammates and help you clutch that 1v3. Use that high ground, switch your weapons, just use all the tactics you possibly can to win that situation. But all the same, sometimes those 1v3s just aren't winnable. Sometimes the best thing you can do is try to get your friends' banners and get out. So the key here is going to be that movement, trying to swoop all around, not being a still target, using your flanking, trying to think of all the different climbing routes that you possibly can to swoop in there, get those banners and get out so you can get to that respawn beacon and get your friends back in the game. Because even if you die, you can get respawned, you can come back in and help win the fight.
You see, winning fights in Apex is all about having the best odds. If you can attack somebody from behind, you have much better odds. If you change your angle of approach, you'll have much better odds because the enemy won't know exactly where you're coming from. If you can keep track of your opponent's health in battle, you know if all they need is a punch, and you can throw that punch out to take somebody out of the fight and increase the odds in your favor. Team firing also heavily increases the odds in your favor. If you have an enemy that you can safely finish, go for the finisher. Now in Apex Legends, you actually get a full shield recharge upon completing a finisher. But besides that, if you can get that person turned into a box, you can, semi-permanently take them out of the fight. That gets an entire gun out of the fight, and they would have to spend the extra energy to go pick up the banner and do the respawn point, and it makes them very vulnerable. You also just want to try to get people while they're down, like people who are up against a circle, or people who are running out in the open. Take advantage of situations where you have clear shots at opponents to land that damage. And generally you also want to be the third party. Don't get third party to be the third party. But you want to make sure you do this intelligently. Don't just go running out into the pair of teams and getting murked by both of them. You want to try to keep an eye out for where enemies are. Keep track of them. Look out for people up on the high ground. If you need to heal, heal. Make sure you're using your small pieces of cover. But also keep an eye out for the shield swapping opportunities. Shield swapping is the tactic of picking up a fresh shield either from the ground or off of a box when you kill an enemy. While regular heals like a shield battery or medkit can take valuable seconds and sometimes leave you in the lurch, while swapping a shield out for one in a box or one on the ground only takes a moment and can be vital to getting the health you need in the middle of a fight. Now, just the same as I said, you want to try to catch people out in the open and try to kick people while they're down. You want to make sure you don't put yourself at that disadvantage. If you have cover and the enemy team is fighting you, you should not move away from that cover. You should stay in your cover. I'm in this fight. The enemy is in front of me, but I don't have any cover substantial between me and them. And so what I'm trying to do is make sure we have a substantial advantage going into this fight. I know I've already knocked one of those players, but I'm still getting hurt a lot. And so I want to make sure that I get my heals off, take care of myself during this battle. Don't give up my cover. Give myself the opportunity to get more HP. And only when I feel like I have a substantial advantage do I actually push out of this cover. I know that I deal a lot of damage to the Gibraltar in the back and the lifeline with that throwable, and so I push in away from the cover, finish the lifeline. I noticed that WRAITH was going for a self-res, so I made sure to finish her. If somebody's self-resing, you gotta take care of them. And then I stepped back for just enough time to get some health off,
the Bloodhound was there to get the finish. So don't give up the cover you have unless you feel like you actually have a substantial advantage. Now I realize this is all a lot of information to digest and bring to bear in the game. I've just spent the better part of half an hour talking to you about how to live and breathe Apex Legends, and it's going to take some time for that to sink in. I encourage you to come back and watch this video multiple times so you can make sure to pick up on all the little bits and details that I've spoken about in this video. But the real core of it is developing your ability to adapt in any given situation, and that's going to happen over time. Don't be in a rush to be amazing. You want to take your time and focus on one of these aspects at a time. If you're not great at a particular weapon, you should spend some time in the firing range and try to work on your gun skill with that weapon. If you find yourself dying a lot in combat because you haven't moved much, try scrimming against those bots and making sure you jump, crouch, and strafe in combat. If you find yourself getting outpositioned, people are sneaking up behind you, then take the time to try and actively think during combat, no matter what weapon you have, how can I flank this person? Where am I in this moment, and how can I best the person on the other end of me? It will take time, it will take patience, it will take focus, but if you work on these elements one at a time, you will improve at this game. The final section of this video will be tips for fighting each specific legend, starting with Bloodhound. When you're up against Bloodhound, they can track you, but you can also reverse track them when they use the Eye of the Allfather on you. It emanates from the point of origin, from the Bloodhound. You can see it spread out in a circle. If you see that circle, you can kind of reverse triangulate where they're at. The ultimate also makes a specific sound. Alongside that roar, you will also hear this heavy breathing wherever Bloodhound is at, alongside a bright red glow surrounding them while the ultimate is active. You can also hear it when it's deactivated. And use that as your opportunity to push. Next we have Gibraltar, and the biggest thing you have to worry about with Gibraltar is that gun shield. It just absorbs so much damage. Even with a full purple R99, it won't pierce it. So what you want to use is something a little bit heavier, something higher damage, like a flatline will do the job. Or you want to avoid the shield entirely by maybe aiming for the legs. You can definitely kill a Gibraltar in the legs, even though it does less damage than your standard body or headshots. You can also go a little bit around the side of Gibraltar. If Gibraltar's good, they'll be crouching behind that gun shield, but their shoulders and bottom will kind of stick out from behind the gun shield, and you can still put some damage in on them. If faced with a Gibby and a dome shield, use some throwables to help smoke them out. I like thermites and arc stars personally, and then try to play in and out of their cover. Just as much as they're going to play with their dome shield, you should try to do the same thing back to them.
And then the ultimate counter to Gibraltar's ultimate is, of course, Wattson's ultimate, which will block all incoming throwables, including a caustic gas grenade, in addition to the artillery barrages of Gibraltar's and Bangalore's ultimates. Now, moving on to Lifeline, what you have to worry about with the Lifeline is not only can they use their healing items 25% faster than anybody else, but they also have the healing drone. And in conjunction, these can make Lifeline a nightmare if you're trying to take them down from long range. You don't want to let a Lifeline get away. It only takes a few seconds for them to pop off that shield battery. In conjunction with the healing drone and maybe a syringe, they will have healed every single HP of damage you did to them by the time you find them again. So do your best not to let a Lifeline get out of your sights. You can also get around their res shield with some throwables. You can't directly shoot them, but if you have a throwable, you can toss it around that shield, and if they continue with the revival process, they will incur some heavy damage upon themselves. You can also find enemy teams if you're in the mood to hunt by looking for Lifeline care packages. You can distinguish these from regular care packages by the fact that they aren't marked on the map and they fall about 3 times as fast as the standard care package. We also discovered during testing that it doesn't appear you can be crushed anymore. The game simply pushes you out of the way. He didn't move, the game pushed him out of the way. But use this tactic to hunt down Lifeline squads. Next we got Pathfinder. Now Pathfinder zipline is easy to tell from any other in the world because they are perfectly straight from one point to another, which makes them pretty easy to shoot targets that are ziplining across them. That does go both ways though, so make sure you're very careful pushing across a Pathfinder zipline. There could be a team waiting on the other end for you. This zipline is also pretty noisy. So if you have some quick reactions, you can catch a Pathfinder mid-zip along with the rest of his squad and just make them completely regret their life choices. You can also hear the grapple hook very easily. It's even noisier than the zip line. You'll also notice that if the Pathfinder doesn't move past the grapple point, they're frozen there for just a moment, which is vital. You can take advantage of that because the Pathfinder does not have their weapons out during the grapple period. They are unequipped during that time. Moving on to Wraith. Wraith has the ability to void walk, which allows her to avoid damage for a small period of time, but does leave behind a very distinctive blue trail for you to follow. So if you're paying close attention and keeping up, you can catch a Wraith totally unawares. They also have no weapons equipped while they're attempting to make a Wraith portal, so you can take advantage of that too. Wraith portals are kind of dangerous. If you go through one, you might face a Wraith on the other side waiting to ambush you, but you can ambush them right back if you trap up their portal. You can do this with Caustic, but I prefer WATTSON because her laser fences sit in place and don't dissipate in the same way that Caustic gas does. It does a fair amount of damage, it stuns them, hurts their shield really bad, and then you can follow up their ambush with an ambush of your own. Moving on to Bangalore. Bangalore has their ability to pop smokes, and digital threat scopes are your best friend if you want to get through this. Now I know those aren't super handy, super easy to come by, so if you want to catch those, try to have a lifeline on hand. Her care packages can be super helpful to getting gold attachments on your guns. Now Bloodhound is also a fantastic choice for this kind of battle because of their abilities. The Eye of the All-Father combined with something like Beast of the Hunt will definitely allow you to pierce the veil of a Bangalore's smoke. Now we also have caustic gas traps. You can destroy these by shooting them at the bottom. However, if the trap is already activated, no amount of bullets will allow you to stop that gas trap. And once again, just like Bangalore's smoke cloud, a digital threat scope will really help you out when facing a caustic who's hiding inside that deadly gas. You also have Crypto is a great counter to caustic because their EMP will destroy any traps within that radius. You do still have to be careful because a good caustic will still have some traps saved up, but you can destroy a whole lot of their setup and make it a lot more difficult for them to hold their location down using that Crypto. Next up we have Mirage, and the Mirage Bamboozle, which is very convincing, running out in a straight line from wherever it was put at, and it can even fool the Bloodhound Eye of the All-Father, making it think there's a hostile detected. But it doesn't appear to fool the Crypto Drone. The Crypto Drone can tell whether it's a hologram or not. So as you can see, there's the real Mirage over there, and the one that was the hologram did not show up. Now, it's really hard to track a Mirage when they put their ultimate off, but not impossible. They go invisible, but their interactions with the environment do not disappear. If you look very closely at this moment, you have Mirage at the top of the hill, pops the ultimate, disappears completely, but I caught the cloud of smoke coming out from behind his body as he did this slide, and that gave away their exact position. So that's what you want to look out for with the Mirage, is environmental details like that. Use your eyes to look for little puffs of smoke or splashes of water, and use your ears as well. Loud clanking metal footsteps or jumping on dirt makes a lot of noise too. Next up we have Octane, whose stim makes a very particular noise that you can hear. Octane also glows green and leaves behind a bright green trail while the stim is active, and this can get you a dead giveaway to when someone is approaching you. Take advantage of this to set up your own ambushes and take Octanes by surprise. You can also take advantage of their jump pads, either chasing them down in an escape situation, which they usually aren't expecting someone to be right behind them, or shooting them out of the sky, because an Octane pad happens over a very predictable arc. If you have a good shot, you can take one out pretty easily. Next up we have WATTSON, and WATTSON fences can be a pain to deal with, but you can easily go around them. You can maybe jump over them, climb over them, or if they're placed improperly, slide under them. You can also shoot their bases to destroy those, so if they're out in the open, you can shoot them out. You can also have your crypto drone swoop in there and destroy those fences, but the ultimate will still be active, so a good WATTSON can get her fences back up fast. The Caustic, though, is a great counter to WATTSON. His gas will destroy the traps, will destroy the ultimate, and will lay easy damage on WATTSON herself that goes past her shields, so her shield abilities don't even help her there. So Caustic is a great counter. WRAITH can be used to get past fences, but could also leave you in a situation where you're trapped inside fences. So don't be too reliant on a WRAITH and some portaling to get you through those areas. It could get you in a bad situation. Next up we have Crypto, which Crypto's drone, it can be shot out of the sky, but it is very difficult to do so. It does have a fair amount of health now, and so it will soak up some bullets. I think it has like 45 health now, maybe 50 health. But what you can do is use the kind of area where the drone came from to track down where the Crypto is. If you see where the drone flew out from, you can go to where the Crypto is, and if they haven't spotted you, they won't know you're there. They are completely oblivious when they're inside their drone space, and there's some very clippable moments when you catch a Crypto not looking. Now, when you're facing a Revenant, you want to pay attention to a couple of different sounds, specifically their totem sounds. First sound was the totem being placed, the second sound was the totem being used by a player, and that'll let you know when you're being pushed. Now when you destroy a shadow, any shadow, you will see a bright orange light fly back to the totem from which they spawned, and you can use that as a way to tell you where to push to. You know that target is going to be low health, you should go straight for them and try to finish them off. If you didn't know, you can also use an enemy totem for yourself. As long as it's still active, you can use it. Now, I want to throw a quick shout out. Thank you so much to Naughty Cal, my brother, and PDX Jedi Ninja, one of my best buddies in real life, for helping me make this video, specifically this section right here, where I needed assistance collecting footage on how to fight against every legend. And I want to thank you, the viewer, who stuck around for over 40 minutes of Apex Legends tips, tricks, and information. A lot of love, care, and effort went into curating this list and making this video for you guys. So a like rating and a share of the video would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to see some more Apex Legends content in your feed, make sure you subscribe to Meaty Yogurt Gaming. Now that I'm done with this project, I'm going to have a lot more energy to invest in finishing my other projects. I have a WATTSON guide filmed, ready to get edited. I'm filming for a Season 4 Bloodhound guide right now, and I have a lot of fun gameplay compilations that you guys haven't seen yet. If you want to see the content I've already made, you'll have a pair of videos on the screen right now. Click one of those, but in the meantime, I'm not amazing, I'm just Meaty Yogurt, and I'm out.